And here we are again, a new year, new yoga, new you. Come on in, just sit down. Put a block under your butt if you'd like to have your hips a little bit higher than your knees. If you're having difficulty, you're kind of holding onto your knees to be able to sit upright with any ease. It's all about being stable and comfortable where you are. And this is why you do yoga at home, where nobody's watching and you don't care what you look like, so then you get to really focus on what you're doing. So as we move through this, make yourself comfortable. Shut that door, leave all of the blah blah that may have walked into the room with you. Leave all the blah blah at the door, and you can pick it up on the way out if you so choose. Okie dokie. So we're here for about an hour, or 5 or 10 minutes if you choose. Just becoming aware of how you're sitting on the mat. Just tone your belly, you're not sucking it in. Everything is done with ease. Just tone your belly, lift your chest. Feel like there's a piece of string coming out the crown of your head and everything is hanging off that. Shoulders, heavy. Just if you roll your shoulders up to your ears and then around, back and then down. That's kind of where you want them to be, but be careful when you do that you don't pop your ribs out. So keeping them closed as well. And as we're sitting here, I just want to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this land, the First Nations people, the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and continuing. And if you'd like to dedicate your practice, now would be a really great time to do that if you so choose. And by dedicating your practice, essentially you're sending all that lovely energy you create towards the person or the thing that you've dedicated it to. You can always get dedicated to yourself too. So it can be a thing, a project, a friend, a family member, and it can be to people not known to you who are facing times of difficulty and hardship. So just take a moment now and dedicate your practice. And as usual, this practice is going to be a 3-part practice. There's the asana, which are the movements and the poses, which are great for your body and flexibility and strength. There's also pranayama, which is your breath, your life force. There'll be a little bit of concentration meditation for your mind. So it's all around, we're working from all angles. And today I thought we might focus, and we'll start with the breath. Everything starts with the breath, but today's practice, we're going to start with the breath practice, and it's a really simple one. So I am going to count you in as usual. If your breath is much slower or much faster, try and just tune me out and go with your own pace. If you feel overwhelmed by breath work, just let it go and just have a slow, natural breath, whatever's working for you. And there is a saying, control your breath, control your life. And it's very true. Your breath is a reflection of your mind. They essentially mirror each other. If your breath is all really sharp and jagged and very fast, generally it's reflecting what's going on in your mind. And it's quite easy to control your breath, not so easy to control your mind. So this is a really nice one. If you feel like your mind is getting away from you, you can just, any place, anytime, you can do this one. It's basically a 4-count inhale. And we're going to do a 6-count exhale. But again, you can do, if you've got really jagged breath, even if you did a 2 inhale and a 3 exhale and move towards a longer exhale. It's just you want your exhale to be longer than your inhale. And by doing that, what you're doing is activating the vagus nerve, which kicks into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. And so when you're resting and digesting, when you have that slow breath and you're calming the nervous system down, it also helps with really great decision making. So if you have some decisions to make, just sit for 2 minutes, do some of this breath work, see how you feel. Okay, closing your eyes if that's comfortable, just lower your gaze. If not, so I'm going to count it in. So we're going to inhale together, exhale together, and then we're going to inhale for 2, 3, 4, exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 2, 3, 4, exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And continue with your own breath counting there. See if you can extend, if it's comfortable to extend that exhale. Don't push it to the point that you become anxious or overwhelmed and you start taking a really quick, sharp inhale. So you want to keep it a really slow, smooth breath pattern. And whatever you can do today is what you can do, and you can work towards extending that exhale as best you can. A couple of more breaths there. And when you're finished your next exhale, just let go of that practice, and we're just going to inhale, exhale a couple of times just naturally, not counting, not controlling, just observing. And while you're sitting there, just notice how you feel in your body. If you notice any shift or any difference, any sensations in your body, I definitely recommend to take some time every day. You know, you could just be sitting in the car, waiting for your kids to come out of practice, standing in the line at the supermarket, waiting for the bus, waiting for the kettle to boil, and just take those 2 minutes. Do that for 2 minutes. Okay. So as we move through the practice today, we're going to, as always, keep in mind our breath. And as we get to, if we get to poses that are a little bit more challenging, balancing poses and different things, anything that you find challenging, just see what your breath is doing. So slowly we're going to come over onto our hands and knees, and we're just going to push back into child's pose. So I'm going to put my knees wide on the mat, my toes together, because I really like that. You can have your knees together if that works for you. Coming down to the mat, you can put a block under your head. You can stack your hands and just put your forehead like this. And all your weight is going down onto your heels if that's comfortable. If you need to use a block or bolster underneath you to help support you, if you've got winky ankles, feel free to do that. So you can be here. You can have your elbows lifted, and you can have your forehead coming to the mat, and that's a more active child's pose. And then the full relax, arms come alongside the body, palms are facing up, and just let everything go. Relax the belly. With every exhale, it's a really nice time to just go. Release. So weight on your heels, your belly is soft. Your shoulders are moving towards the mat. Just gravity. You're not pushing, you just let gravity do its job. Nice to close your eyes and just check in. And when you're ready, one more breath cycle there, and then we're just going to bring our hands to the mat and moving really gently because we're only starting out. So we're always going to move gently. We're going to do a bit of cat-cow. So your hands are under your inline, so it's shoulders, elbow, wrists, or all in line. And then your knees, as best you can, because you can't see them. I'm hoping my knees are under my hips. But feel it out, and then your legs are going straight out behind you. Feet are straight out behind you. Your hands, your fingers are really wide, so have a look at your hands on the mat. And if you want, you can just pick up your fingers and spread them out. So your fingers are really wide on the mat, and the pressure is being put into the kind of the knuckle of the first finger and the thumb. So this section here is where you're putting the pressure, pushing down into that. Okay. From here, we're just going to drop the belly, curve the spine, bring the chest forward. And as you do this, you can feel like your shoulders are wrapping around the back. It's a real nice stretch in the front of your belly, but feel like imagine you've got a headlight on your chest and that's facing forward. So you don't need to lift your neck doesn't need to be involved. You want to just kind of keep your neck in line with your spine as you move through these different movements. Okay, and from here we're just going to tuck the tailbone, we're going to slink up through the spine, we are going to drop the crown of the head towards the mat. It's the last part of the puzzle. Push out of the top of your feet, push out of your hands, pushing up in between your shoulder blades. Get a really nice stretch there. Okay, going back through. Drop the belly, chest comes forward. And if you've been doing this for a while, and you can go at whatever speed works for you, but you can also just get a bit more creative with how you do it. So rather than just being like, oh yeah, cat-cow. So you might get to here. You might go to the flat back. You might kind of look around towards one of your feet. You might kind of stay here and wiggle from side to side and get a really nice stretch along the side. You could even kind of move back and forward through this movement. So whatever works for you. And if you love this and you just want to hang out here for the rest of these movements, then it's your practice and you're at home. So you can press pause and you can just stay here. Or you can just leave it going. Okay. From here, we're just going to put our hands a little bit further forward and we are going to lift our knees, lift our hips. We're going to push back into down dog. Fingertips are wide. Our toes are pointing a little bit in. Keep a bend in the back of your knees. It's not about straight legs or your ankles being on the mat. If they're there, that's all well and good. And if they're not, that's where they're meant to be. So just imagine your chest and your belly moving towards your upper thighs. Pushing into that knuckle of the first finger. Your ears in line with the inside of your arms. You can kind of pedal it out a bit if you like, and then we're going to come into stillness. And from here we're going to meet at the front of the mat, so however you want to get there, you can hop, jump, skip. I like to do a little side-by-side diagonal kind of walk, and we're going to meet at the front of the mat. I'll just turn around to face you, but you're at the front of your mat. And I'm going to have my feet hip distance apart. We're going to just check in at Tadasana, so mountain pose, really strong pose. So start with the ground up. This is where all the balance happens down here. So we're going to lift the toes, put them back down. Once you lift your toes, your kneecaps will lift. Kneecaps are lifted, your toes are back down. Belly is moving towards your spine. Your chest is lifted. You can maybe tuck your chin a tiny bit. We tend to kind of stick our chin forward from all the computer use. Shoulder blades go down the back like we talked about. And then the hands, palms facing forward. You can have a tiny micro bend in the back of the knees, and that will help tuck your tailbone and protect your lower back. And if you can play around, if you push your arms behind you, feel what that does. Rotate your palms facing the back. See what that does to your shoulders. When you open the palms, you feel like that opens through your shoulders. Okay. So we're going to go through our sun salutations. And I'm going to go through one slowly, and then you can stay and you can do the second time slowly, or if you like, we can do it in line with our breath. Okay, so all of you are at the front of your mat. I am going to come to the front of my mat, and we are going to start. I'm going to leave my feet hip distance apart because I like that. It feels stable for me, so whatever works for you. Okay, so just bring our hands to a prayer position. Okay, so we bring our hands overhead. From here, we keep a flat back and we forward fold. So flat back, coming all the way forward. Your belly hits your thighs, nice old bend in your knees, and you come down. Now you should be looking out behind you, whatever you can see behind you. And that will mean the crown of your head is moving towards the mat. Shake it yes. Shake it no. You can clasp either elbow. You can just let's just move to either side. Move to your right foot. Move to your left foot. Have a play with that. Okay, that's not really part of it. Okay, so from here, we're going to put our fingertips to the mat. We're going to start on the right side. So your right leg goes back. Your right knee goes down. And your chest comes forward. So you're in a lunge. So you can feel, if your foot is too far back, you might find that the heel lifts like this. So try and put your foot a little bit further forward. You have that foot planted. Chest comes forward, shoulders wrap back around the back. Okay. From here we put our hands on the mat. You lift the back knee. You step back into high plank. You drop the knees. Keep the butt up, you drop the chest, the chin, and then you push through to cobra. Your feet come together, your toes are pointed. There's a lot of different ways you can do cobra, but this one we are just going to work on the upper back, so no weight in your hands. So you might only be like millimeters from the mat, depending on what's going on with your back, and everybody's different. So just take your hands out. From cobra, you can put your knees down, so you can either come up with your knees down, or if you want, you can push straight up into high plank, back into down dog. Left foot comes forward, right knee comes down. And then we step to the front of the mat, we're into Uttanasana, forward fold. We put our weight in our heels, our hands come out in front. With a flat back, our arms come up overhead. Hands back to heart center. Okay, so that's one side of the sun salutation. We're going to do the other side. Okay, arms up overhead. Flat back, forward fold, belly to thighs. We're stepping back with the left foot. Left knee comes to the mat. Chest comes forward. Really nice stretch in that hip flexor. Plant your hands on the mat. Lift that back knee. Step back into high plank. Drop the knees, the chest, and the chin. Push through to cobra. Feet are together. Toes are pointed. Put your toes back down. Up through high plank. Into down dog. Right foot comes forward. Left knee comes down. We come to the front of the mat, Uttanasana, belly to thighs. Hands come out in front, straight arms, flat back, coming all the way up. Hands to prayer pose. So that's our sun salutation. That's a really slow version. So feel free to go at that pace. But how we're going to do this is we are going to, each breath will lead a movement. So if you think of it like, rather than moving and then breathing in and then moving and then breathing out, goes the other way around. So we inhale, and it'll lift our arms up. Then we exhale, and it will bring us down. Okay, let's come to the front of the mat. Follow on if you can. Okay. So, because we've warmed up a little bit, this time when we inhale, we bring our arms up overhead. If you want to have a little back bend, all you need to do is move your arms backwards in space. Keep a tuck in your chin. That'll kind of protect your neck. So if you want a little back bend, okay. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back into lunge. Exhale, plank. Hold the breath. Inhale, Ashtanga pranayama. Exhale, cobra. Inhale, down dog. Exhale, lunge. Inhale, uttanasana. Inhale, stand. Exhale, prayer pose. We're going to repeat that on the other side. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back into low lunge. Exhale into plank. Hold it. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, prayer pose. Okay, good job. We're going to do a little warrior sequence. So again, we're just going to come to the front of our mat. Yeah, let's do it this way. Hands to prayer pose. Okay. Just close your eyes. Just take a moment. Steady yourself. We're going to check back in to our standing pose. Strong, steady base. What's going on with your breath? Is it in control? And like I mentioned, child pose is there for you that we did at the start of the class. If you lose control of your breath or you're in a pose and it's really tricky, you can either ease out of the pose, don't push it too far. You can also come to child's pose. Take a moment, have a chat with yourself, regain your breath, and come back and join us. No worries. Okay, we're going to do some warrior sequence. Okay, hands overhead, back bend if you like, forward fold, flat back into uttanasana. We're going to step back into high plank, and then we're going to push back into down dog. Okay, so we'll just hang out here for a second. Breathing in out through your nose, and settle yourself. So we're going to start this on the left side. So step forward with your left foot. Now, if it doesn't get as far forward as that, you can always drop your knee. Let's say it's landed here. Just drop your knee, give it a hand. Okay. From here, we're going into warrior one. So drop that back heel. So that back foot is at about a 45-degree angle. It's kind of facing the front corner of your mat. Before we start lifting up and getting all into our warrior one, let's just make sure we've got a really stable base. So push into that foot, push into all sides of that front foot. Make sure that knee is not knocking in, it's moving towards your little toe. Push into the outside edge of that back foot. Tone your belly, so kind of lift. Imagine like you're lifting up from here. You've got a flat back and you are lifting up. Okay, and coming flat back, got a solid base. We're going to come to here. We're not going to lift our hands all the way up overhead. From here, we're just going to lean forward. Imagine something pulling out of the crown of your head. So now we're extended. From there, we're going to come up. We're pushing into the outside edge of that back foot. Front knee is moving towards your little toe. Your shoulders are relaxed. You feel like you're pulling them up between your legs. Relax your face. Check in with your breath. Okay. From here, I'm just going to move a little bit back on my mat because I've got a wall in front of me. From our warrior one, you can hang in warrior one if you like. We're going to go into warrior three. It's a balancing pose. So if you want to come with me, come on up. So we're going to just put our hands on our hips. We are going to step in a little bit closer. So bring that back foot in a little bit closer. Your hips are facing the front. And we'll start off. So you're putting your weight on that front foot. Your hips are square to the ground. Your hands are on your hips, so you can actually put them on your hip bones, and then you'll feel which way they're facing. It gives you a little bit of feedback. That back toe, you can just lift it. You're gazing straight down like you're looking into a pond. And that in itself is a challenging balance pose. So and if this is where you are, that's fantastic. Just stay there. Stay working on just lifting that toe, because it doesn't actually matter how high up that leg gets. It's not telling you you're wonderful. It's all about just checking in and seeing what's going on. Okay, if you want to come with me, you can lift that leg. Your hands can come out in front, or your hands can come around behind you, palms facing down if you like. You can have airplane arms. Make sure that your ribs are closed, your belly is towards your spine. And breathe. From here, we're going to bring that back foot all the way back to the mat. That back foot is facing at a 45-degree angle. That front knee is bent. We're opening our hips out to the side, and we're in warrior two. So making sure that front knee, it's bent, it's moving towards your little toe. That back foot is at a 45-degree angle. Our arms are long. Feel like you're pulling, not pulling one way or the other, but both arms are getting pulled. You're pushing through both legs. You can gaze over that front arm if that works for you. Check in with your breath. From here, we're going to leave the feet where they are. Bring the left elbow to the left thigh. Bring that right arm straight up. You can have blade hands. Make sure if you're having trouble opening out to the side, you can always bend that top arm to help you, depending on what's going on in your neck, your shoulders. That's no problem. You can bring that top arm to face the corner of the room to increase that stretch down that side. And breathe. From there, we're going to lift the back heel. We're going to pivot on the back toe. We are going to bring our hands to the mat. We're going to step back into plank. And we are going to push back into down dog. I'm going to hang here for a couple of breaths. And if you've built up a bit of heat, you can always just breathe out through your mouth. Or you can do horse lips. Check in. If you need to come down, take a moment in child's pose. Feel free to do that. We're going to repeat all of that on the right side. So step forward with your right foot. Left heel comes down. And before we go standing up into warrior one, check in. Press the outside edge of that back foot, all of the edges of the front foot. Is the knee moving towards your pinky toes? Your hips are facing the front of the mat, the top of the mat, that front foot. You can come up, you can use your knee to come up. You can put your hands on your hips to come up, or you can just use your arms. Now only come up to here. We're going to tip forward, we're going to extend through the crown of our head, and then come up. Pushing into Both feet. Hips facing forward. Relax the shoulders. Okay, we're going to bring our hands to our hips. We're going to step that back foot about halfway in. Okay, the hips are facing forward, and then they'll be facing the mat. So you can have your hands on your hips, you get really nice feedback. Have your hands wherever you like to have them. Okay, and we're just going to lift those back toes. You have a bend, you can have a bend in that. Don't lock out, never lock out your knees. You can have a bend in that foot, that leg that's carrying the weight. Okay, and you're kind of tipping forward. Make sure that your belly is moving towards your spine. Your neck is long. Okay, putting that toe back down. If you'd like to come with me, we can lift that up. Again, it doesn't matter how high it comes up. Your arms can come out in front. You might find that's a really nice counterbalance. You can bring your arms back. Airplane pose. Imagine that you're pushing the palms into the ground. That's pushing you out and lifting you out of that pose. And one more breath here. And without looking, just know we're stepping back into warrior 3. That back foot comes down. Our hips are open out to the long side of the mat. That front knee is still bent. That front knee is moving towards your little toes. That foot is at about a 45 degree angle. Arms come long. We're not going this way, we're not going that way. Straight down the middle, but both of these are being pulled in opposite directions. It's a lot of opposing forces. Okay. Breathe. Relax your shoulders. Leave your feet where they are. Right elbow to right forearm. That hand comes straight up. Opening out to the space in front of you. Open your chest out. You can bring that arm to the corner of the room. Get that really nice stretch along that side. Close your eyes. Check in. We're going to lift that back heel, pivot on the back toe. Hands come to the mat. Plant your palms. Step back into high plank. And then push back into down dog. We're going to take a moment here. Our arms are in line with our ears are in line with our arms. The heels are kicking out a little bit. You should be able to see the ball of your heel. Bend in the back of the knees. Knit those ribs together. Don't pop your ribs. You can come up onto your toes so you can feel what it feels like to lift your hips and then lower down. And then we're just going to bring our knees to the mat. We're going to come to all fours. And we're going to sit off to one side. And we're going to bring our legs long on the mat. Okay. We're going to move into a little bit of mat work. Just remember, we're just focusing on controlling our breath. Okay, so our feet are hip distance apart. We're just going to lie down. And just take a moment, let the mat support you. Your back, your lower back is flat on the mat. So your feet are hip distance apart and parallel. And your knees also, if you have a tendency for your knees to knock out, get a block, put it between your knees and squeeze it. Just to kind of get that reinforcement. Okay, we're going to go into bridge. So we're going to push into our feet. Now before you get started, if you don't activate your glutes enough, your hamstrings will start screaming at you. If your hamstrings start screaming at you, come down. But when you reset, so squeeze your glutes together. That's where it starts. Then we roll up lower back, middle back, upper back. Squeeze those glutes together. You can like wiggle your arms in underneath you and clasp your wrists. Your chest is moving towards your chin. Push into your feet. You can also support. You can put your hands underneath your hips and use that as a little kind of prop support. Push into all sides of your feet. Imagine your knees moving away from you. One more breath. And bring your hands to the mat if they're not already there. And we're going to roll down, upper back, middle back, lower back. Okay. So you can go into that. I'm going to go into single leg lift bridge. But feel free to stay on the mat, go back into bridge. So if you're going to come with me, we are just going to lift up into bridge. From here, we're just going to lift the left leg, straighten it out, and we're just going to lift and lower using our right glute. And so you can just barely touch or just get close to touching the mat. Try and keep both knees in line, so not like letting this leg go up or down. And breathing through this. So really great for your glutes. We'll do 2 more on that side. Foot to the ground. And we're going straight into the other side. So the leg comes out. And we're going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. Okay, just activating that glute. If you're trying to keep those legs in line, which is pretty hard. If you're in your bridge, feel free to come down at any point. And we'll do 2 more of these. 1 more. Foot comes down. Upper back, lower back, middle back, lower back comes to the mat. And if you want to, you can just give your knees a little hug into you. And then we're going to keep going on the core work. So really great if anybody has, if you have back issues, you need to be careful with all of these and careful with what kind of, make sure that you are supported in your lower back as you move through this. If you feel any discomfort, of course, ease out of it or stop completely. But great to strengthen your core to support your back. So we're going to come up 1 leg at a time. We're going to come into tabletop. So our shins are parallel, hopefully, with the mat. Okay, our lower back is squashed into the mat. And this might be enough for you. So the further away, so if your knees are up here, that's less load on you. And so work within your range. So ideally you want to have like a right angle here. Palms are down for a bit of support, and we're going to go into some toe taps. So think of it as you're not moving any part of your leg, you're literally moving from the hip to touch your toe to the ground and coming back up. Make sure that your ribs are connected, so you can put your hands on your ribs and make sure they are not popping. Put your hand on your low belly. Put your hand on the inside of your hip flexors. Make sure you're breathing. Don't hold your breath because you'll end up popping all kinds of parts of your body out that shouldn't be. So inhale, exhale. So we're alternating 1 leg and then the other leg as best you can, just moving from your hip, coming back up. So do 1 more either side and down, and then slowly 1 leg at a time, bringing your feet down to the mat. Okay, so we're going to roll to one side. We're going to come up to sitting, however you want to get there. Let's take a moment in between. Let it all kind of settle. And we are going to do easy front stretch. So soles of the feet on the mat, feet hip distance apart. Fingertips are facing inwards towards your toes. We're going to lift up, so pushing out of the feet, pushing out of the hands, coming up into a tabletop. Activate the glutes, pressing to all sides of your feet and your hands. Activate the glutes, gazing towards your belly. Don't let your head fall back because it's really heavy and it's not good for your neck. Okay. Breathing. If you get the wobbles, of course, come down. But see if you can exhale through this. And last breath. And bring your butt down close to your hands. Take the weight off your hands. And now for the fun stuff. We're going to bring our feet together, our knees together, our legs are glued together. We're sitting up really tall, we've got a flat back. Okay. So the easiest, we're going into boat pose. Easy boat pose apparently, but I question that. So what we want to do, the easiest way to get into this pose is we put our hands on the mat and you just kind of come up to your tippy toes. And then you can hold on to the back of your thighs. So let's do that. We'll hold on to the back of our thighs and kind of wiggle your toes up. And gradually, you'll still have a flat back, but you'll have moved kind of, if you imagine your head moving back, you don't want to curve your spine at all. So imagine your head moving back, tuck the chin, and just bring your feet off the mat. Knees together, thighs together, toes pointed. Chest lifting. We're going to hold this. You might, if you roll off and roll backwards, just reset and start again. Okay. One more breath. We'll touch the toes down. Okay. We're going to do that one again, but we're going to lift, see if we want to lift. So you can stay with that, with the toes lifted. Or if you like, you can lift your shins parallel to the mat. Lift the chest. You can still hold on to the back of your thighs if you like. You can let go, but just make sure you're not rolling the spine. And you get the wobbles, that's okay. Hold on to the back of your thighs and release. Feet come back, hip distance apart, going back into easy front stretch. The fingers face towards your toes. We're going to push up out of the feet, push up out of the hands. Activate the glutes. We're going to push, push, push. A couple of breaths. And slowly coming down. So we're going to lie down on the mat. Slowly coming down to the mat. If you like, you can just windshield wiper your legs from side to side. We'll bring one leg along, on both legs along on the mat. We'll just bring our right knee in towards us. We'll clasp it, give it a little hug, and then we're just going to twist over to our left side. Really nice spinal twist. So we're at the end of our practice. It's time to release and let go. So this is a easy twist. Make sure your right shoulder is on the mat. If it's not, just kind of ease out of it a little bit until it is. You can put your toe on the mat. You can put your block under your knee. You can play around with how high up or low down your knee is, and it will shift the stretch that you get up and down. So whatever works for you. Back to center, both legs long on the mat. Left leg up, give it a little hug, and over to the left side. Make sure that, sorry, that was over to the right side. Left knee over to the right side. Left shoulder on the mat. And release. One more breath there. And coming back to center. Both legs long on the mat, and we're going to go into Shavasana. So both legs, so if you want to grab a jumper or a blanket to make yourself really comfortable, we're going to be here for 5 or 10 minutes. Feel free to do that. Put your socks on. Our legs come long on the mat. Our feet fall where they naturally want to fall, out to the side. Our arms are away from the body. Our palms are facing up. And close your eyes. And I'm going to talk you through a short yoga nidra. And then we'll be in Shavasana. So just get comfortable, make any last minute adjustments you need to make. If you have issues with your back or your lower back, it feels not quite good for you to lie on the mat like that. You can always put the soles of your feet together, put your feet on the outside edge of the mat and let your knees knock in towards each other. And as we move through this yoga nidra, you don't need to make any more adjustments. So as I call out different parts of your body, all you need to do is bring your awareness to that part of the body. You don't need to move it. You don't need to, just bring your awareness and release. So your feet are soft and falling out to the side. There's no tension or stress in your ankles. They're soft. Your calves are heavy on the mat. Your knees are relaxed, supple. Your thighs fully supported by the mat. Your hands are easy. You might feel the floor or the earth or the carpet on the back of your hands. Your fingers are naturally soft and curled. Your forearm is heavy. Your elbow, your upper arm, your hips supported by the mat. Your belly is soft. Notice the gentle rise, the gentle fall as your breath softens and slows and eases. Your belly rises, your belly falls. No tension. Your lower back, your middle back, your upper back, fully supported. Your shoulders are heavy on the mat, letting gravity pull you down. Your chest gently rising, gently falling with your breath. The ease, the softness. back of your head, your jaw, soft, no tension, no gripping, released, let go. Your scalp, your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyelids, heavy, heavier than they have ever been. Your cheeks, your lips, your face, your nose. Cool breath coming in, warm breath coming out. Your awareness of the breath in, your awareness of the breath out. Your whole body at ease. I'll leave you now in Shavasana, but I will keep an eye on the time and I'll bring you back. And slowly coming back to the room, coming back to yourself. Perhaps wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. If you'd like to stretch, maybe your hands up over your head. Maybe bring your knees into your chest and wiggle round. Maybe wiggle your ankles round in a circle. Maybe rock your knees from side to side, round in a circle. Whatever movements feel nice. And then we're just going to roll onto our right side, keeping your head on your arm. Use your arm as a pillow. Just take a moment, lying on your right side. And when you're ready, just make your way. You can keep your eyes closed, your gaze down. Just make your way back up to seated. Whatever version of that is good for you. We're just going to bring our hands to heart center. Just want to thank you for allowing me to lead you through practice today. Thank you for giving yourself this time, this energy, this practice. It's a practice that you can take with you. Hopefully you will feel the benefits of this for the week ahead. And I hope to see you next week. Until then, Namaha. Thank you.